Good morning, everybody. Welcome here to our summer session. We're so glad you found us here at 10 o'clock. I hope you weren't here at 9, and I hope you don't stay till after 11. But welcome. We're going to sing a little bit together here this morning to get us all warmed up. We're going to open up with My Soul is Welcome Here. Please sing it out for us. We're going to stay in the same key, isn't that fun? Is that okay? Okay, yeah, you're right. She's just checking to make sure that I'm in the right key here. What that means if you're not musical is funky, monkey, dorky, twinkie. I'm not doing it. One of those keys.
Pinky.
We're in the key of tweening. Twinkie. Pretty good turnout for a one service thing. Don't you guys think so? I like it. It's not bad, yeah. You guys all got the memo, because I'm worried about the people that didn't. That's right. Figuring it out. Here we go. Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart and mind. Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart and mind. It's about love, it's about passion, it's about taking a chance. chance. It's about love, it's about service, it's about lending a hand. It's about love, it's about laughter, it's about comfort and smiles. It's about love, it's about kindness, it's about hearts open wide. It's about love, it's about passion, it's about taking a chance. It's about love, it's about service, it's about lending a hand. And lending a hand. Let's hear it, folks. Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors, let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart and mind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. Yeah.
Good morning. I'm Tara Weir, and I love that song because if you happen to be new here or newish here or you've been here for 50 years, that song I think really identifies what we're about loving and about opening our hearts, which is one of the things I love about this community, is that you can come here and you can feel the open-heartedness. So welcome to everybody to Unity Spiritual Center. Our mission is transforming lives and inspiring people to make a positive difference in the world. Like I said, I'm Tara Weir, and I'll be the assistant today. So please take a moment to check in on social media and tell them what you're doing here. You're opening your heart and loving more and more. And then if you would silence your cell phone, that would be wonderful. Thank you. We also want to begin our time with our opening affirmation. So I will say it once, and then I will ask you to repeat it with me. There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the Good. Together? There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the Good. Awesome. And this is Unity's founding principle. It's one presence, one power, one life living through and as each one of us. This morning, we will hear from Reverend Jane, and her talk is entitled, What is Your Heartbreak? And I believe, is Gary going to be doing our meditation? Wonderful. And of course, we were blessed musically today with the Wrights, as well as Mike Swain. So we get to hear from the infamous Mike Swain as well. So if you would, please, and are able, you can join us for our community song.
Yeah, we're going to sing God You Are. Let's stand if you can, and kind of keep that part pumping a little bit. Every canyon, every inch of earth It's a dinner here this time.
Good morning. It's great seeing everybody together, and I'm with you, lots of energy. My name is Linda Tweedy, and I have the announcements. Starting out with volunteers are needed, mostly in the bookstore in the fall. If you're not wanting to do anything in the summer, because you're off playing in the lakes or whatever, I could use some 9 o'clockers and some 11 o'clockers in the bookstore in the fall. And the welcome desk needs friendly faces to welcome people in. And there's a sign-up sheet out there for times that you can, or you can get a hold of Rebecca and talk to her about it. We've got, I don't have this on my list, but I'm going to tell you anyway. We have guest speakers the next 2 Sundays. Next Sunday, it will be Amber McKenzie. And then the Sunday of the 23rd will be David McClure. And he's talking about ice cream. And there's going to be an ice cream social afterwards. So be sure and put that on your calendar to be here on the 23rd. Yeah, right, new marketing plan. And then there's a very special dedication ceremony on Father's Day, June the 16th, that's going to be honoring Wayne Green. So be sure and show up next week for that. And now I'm going to invite Mary Ladwick to come up and tell you about Kids Week.
So I lost my script this morning. So I'm going to try to remember everything I wanted to tell you, but I'll be a little bit more disjointed than it was initially. First of all, we've gotten a lot of great volunteers already. And last week I asked for volunteers, and I asked for someone who would come and be camp director, because I would like to step down this year from doing that. We don't have the camp director yet, but we do have some great volunteers. So let me tell you just a little bit about what Kids Week is going to entail this year. We kind of tried to get away from the vacation Bible school theme, because we often didn't do Bible per se. But this year we are going to be talking about the creation story, as in the metaphysics of that and how we are all co-creators with God. And so part of the creation process will mean that the kids will get to do certain studios, and we have some great ideas for what a studio might mean, where they start a project and they work on it all week long. And we're hoping that Sean's going to be part of that. We haven't confirmed it yet, so I don't want to surprise anybody yet with that. You don't care? Well, Sean has offered to come and teach ukulele to the kids. So that's going to be an awesome thing. But the message that I really want to convey is that it's all about the kids. And we want them to have fun, and we want them to be successful, and we want them to come away feeling loved and important. And to do that requires lots of preparation and lots of getting things together behind the scenes and lots of planning and all those things, and that requires something from the volunteers. But I want you to know that you can either show up to volunteer for an hour, for 2 days, for part of a morning. Like Jane Giesel is going to come after about 10 o'clock to do our story time that she's done every year, but not for the whole morning. So whatever works for you, it's like how this works for you, where you can find a little bit of time during your week. And maybe it's going to be before Kids Week, and you might have a way of being helpful of getting all the materials together that we need for one of the studios, or the discussion questions needed for the books that we read. So there's so many opportunities for volunteers, and I'm just passionate about the kids and making sure that they have a great year. So thank you. Oh, good question. After the service today, we'll have a short time in chapel, right, Jackie? Yes, in the chapel, so we can talk a little bit more and see how you might want to plug in. So if you have been thinking about it and you have something you'd like to do, you can come and check in with us after the service today.
And Mary, what week of the summer?
Oh, that's another good question. Thank you. See, that's why I need my script. August 5th through the 8th. It's 4 days. Okay.
Hi there, everyone. My name is Judy Jameson, and I did bring my script. And you will notice I need it. I am a board member here at Unity, and I have been also working on an initiative called Conscious Conversations. You might have heard about that. And so I was asked today to tell you a little bit about conscious conversations and what we've learned so far. You might remember last spring when the Evolutionary Council was sitting down with anyone who was willing to talk with us and have a one-on-one, heart-to-heart conversation about our ministry. These conversations usually took about 20 or 30 minutes, and we asked open-ended questions about how this ministry has impacted and fulfilled your lives, as well as how our ministry might evolve to serve and support our community more fully. After that, we worked together through a process as a team to try to make meaning of all of the open-ended questions that we asked. And then I was fortunate enough to work together with a few others to help create a report of our findings. Our board will be diving into this report and deciding on some action items at our board retreat toward the end of next month. And today I want to share with you about what we learned about how the people we talked with are positively impacted by Unity and what is happening within this community that fulfills them. And then next month, Amber McKenzie will share with you what we learned about how we might evolve as a ministry. So to get to the positive impact on people's lives, we asked two open-ended questions. Number one was, tell me how Unity has impacted your life. And number two was, personally, in what ways are you most fulfilled by our spiritual community? There were 7 themes that emerged: activating spiritual values and spiritual alignment. And for this, people talked about how our ministry helps them grow spiritually and feel more deeply connected to spirit. And they also identified 17 different spiritual values that have manifested more fully in their life, which included increased peace, love, hope, acceptance, and safety. Number 2 was life transformation. People described specific ways in which their lives had been transformed by their involvement here. People shared an increased understanding of their self and their life's purpose, improved self-care, improved relationships, and being one's best. Number 3, learning spiritual practices and tools. These included meditation, prayer, affirmations, unity principles, the Q process, prosperity practices, intention setting, and gratitude practices. Number 4 was Sunday services. These responses included the positive energy here and the inspiring messages that we receive every Sunday. Number 5, community and ownership. People shared the feeling of being welcome, coming home, friendships and relationships, socializing, and connection. And number 6, service to others. People talked about being in service to others both here within our ministry and then beyond our Unity community. And number 7 was our Unity programs. People spoke about small groups like spirit groups, classes, youth ministry, and the choir. So I encourage you to read the report to get a more in-depth understanding of these 7 themes that we found. And then there are also lots of personal stories about how people's lives were personally transformed, and those are in the report. So for me, I truly enjoyed each of the conscious conversations that I had with many of you here. In many cases, I sat down with people that I didn't know very well, and I listened to them share what was on their heart in that moment about this very special place and the impact. I heard about the impact on their lives. I felt honored, and the people felt comfortable enough to share deeply about things that we don't usually talk about in conversations with others. It was a privilege to hear from so many of you about how this place impacts your life. One last bit of information that I thought was interesting, the very last question that we asked was literally just, is there anything else that you wanted to share with us? And virtually everyone shared gratitude for this ministry, for Gary and Jane, the strong sense of community, our growth consciousness, for having a safe place in which to explore and grow spiritually. If you were part of Conscious Conversations, either as an interviewer or someone who was willing to be interviewed, would you just raise your hand? Thank you for taking part, and for I just want to let you know that you will be hearing more about this initiative moving forward. So thank you.
Staying in that mode, we have a beautiful meditative song, I Am So Blessed, by Karen Drucker.
So as we fill our awareness with the wondrous feelings of gratitude and felt sense of being blessed by all that we have and all that we are and all that we do in our life. And as we feel our connection in this community, the wondrous ways in which we've recently heard that this ministry has been of a blessing to so many. We simply want to amplify that energetic field of gratitude and appreciation, because it's what brings us into the experience of our greater good. A real sense of our wholeness, that we matter, that we can make a difference. And so we simply open ourselves now to the full and complete, certain knowing of who we are. And so as we recognize that we are here with purpose, with presence, with passion, with care, with love, with understanding, wisdom, as we feel the blessings of all that we bring to each moment that we have, our sense of understanding that all things are working together for good. Everything is for us. And with God all things are possible. And so for all the ways in which we gather, that greater sense of knowing our oneness, connection, sense of empowerment that lives as we open our hearts and minds to call to make a difference. All the ways in which we are invited to express the truth of who we are. We are grateful. And so let us now take this deeper into this silence, feeling our worth, knowing that our presence matters, knowing that we're the one, and that with God, all things are possible. Breathe in and release. Breathe in and release. So let us release ourselves now into the care and keeping of Spirit, knowing that with God, with love, with oneness, with our awareness of our connection, all things work together for good. And so it is. I am so blessed. Amen.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed.
Thank you. We are blessed, aren't we? Yes. We are. Good morning.
Good morning.
Last Sunday, we looked at how each one of us can be a healing presence on this planet by widening our circle of compassion and helping to bring peace to the world. And our homework, if you remember, what was our homework? A dog ate your homework. Homework is work that takes you home, by the way. Our homework was to practice our bodhisattva training. Remember that? So how many of you practiced? Oh, one person did. When we talk about the bodhisattva, we're referring, in this case, to the Chinese bodhisattva, the Buddhist goddess of compassion, Kuan Yin, who was right on heaven's doorstep when she heard a cry from the earth, and she stopped and turned around and came back and said, "I'm not leaving until everyone has reached nirvana." And that's what a bodhisattva is. And we explored how each one of us can be that kind, compassionate presence, that this is an archetype of who we are in our greater self. And so today we want to continue on this exploration as we really look at how do we do that? How do we do it? Because compassion is sorely needed right now. Would you agree? Yes, it is time. It's time for the power of the heart to rise up and be expressed on this planet. You know, there's an ancient prophecy about this that comes from the indigenous world. It's called the eagle and the condor. And what this prophecy says is that when the eagle of the north flies with the condor of the south, the spirit of the land she will reawaken. And so this prophecy speaks about human society splitting into two paths. The path of the eagle, which is the mind, the masculine, the industrial, and the path of the condor, which is the path of the heart and intuition and the feminine. And here's what it says, that beginning in the 1490s, anybody remember what happened in 1492? Beginning in the 1490s, at that time, that a 500-year period would begin, and during those years, the eagle people would become so powerful that they would virtually drive the condor people out of existence. But during the next 500-year period, which started in 1990, the potential would arise for the eagle and the condor to come together, to fly in the same sky, and to create a new level of consciousness in our human family. Now, is that cool? Yes. But the key word here is potential. Potential. Because the potential exists for us to join together, mind and heart, male and female, mechanical and organic, to find a way to work together. And in spiral dynamics terms, for those who are interested in such things, it's about moving from an orange industrialized culture to green egalitarianism and beyond to a holistic, integral worldview. We're right on the cusp of this happening. But in order for that to happen, it's time for the power of the heart to rise to its place in our culture. Charles Eisenstein is the author of the book, The More Beautiful World Your Heart Knows Is Possible. He is without a doubt one of my favorite authors. And he's written a new book called Climate, the New Story. And as you might guess, he's talking about climate change. And while in this book his writing is more specific to ecological health of the planet, the principles he is espousing as the antidote for the healing are equally relevant in many different areas of cultural ills, whether it's violence, poverty, homelessness, addiction, all those things. It can all work for that. The answer to the healing, no matter what it is coming together of heart and mind. My talk title this morning is What is Your Heartbreak? That kind of gives you a little bit of an inkling of where we might be headed. Because the essence of Charles Eisenstein's thinking is that we are not going to change our behavior because we learn a new fact. That's not going to happen. More has to happen. There's more of a connection in the heart. And the reason for that is because we are now living in what is known as a post-truth era. It's actually got a name to it. But here's what that means. That objective facts are less influential in shaping public opinion than appeals to emotion and personal belief. In other words, we're making decisions based on emotion and belief rather than any kind of strictly logical thinking. And depending on where you get your news will determine what you believe to be true. You see, post-truth thinking says, I feel that that's true. Do you know what I'm talking about here? Now, at first glance, this seems like a bad thing, right? Somewhat of a drawback for change or transformation, because if, for instance, someone has made up their mind that, a certain political party is evil, no amount of facts will sway their opinion. How do you have a conversation with someone who's ignoring factual information? But even worse, what if I'm the one doing it? Turns out I can't be pointing fingers at anyone else because I'm just as liable as people on the other side of an issue to be immersed in post-truth thinking. And so I have to begin here in my bodhisattva training. I've got to start here. I have to ask myself, what beliefs do I have that are blinding me to the facts? And this is where we all need to begin in our desire to change the world, to identify where I'm participating in this cultural hypnosis myself. Where am I plugged into the matrix? Where are my own inner blind spots? Where are my projections or my biases? What stories are being made up by my mind that I am believing? That's the beginning work for us. And then after we identify what that is, the work becomes integration. And this is where the heart comes in. It's in the realm of the heart that we do this healing, releasing work with self-compassion. We need to be bodhisattvas to ourselves, too. And in the nurturing, safe environment of self-compassion, change can now take place. Transformation can happen. But we have to clear out our own crap first in order to be vehicles for emergence to happen. So in our post-truth world, we need to become aware that facts about climate change, for instance, will probably only be impactful for the folks that already believe those kind of facts or think that way. Typically. I mean, sometimes facts can wake us up, especially if they're pretty sobering. But by and large, people who are firmly on either side of an argument are there not because of facts, but because of personal, emotional investment of some kind. And in order to heal this, I have to see what stands in my way, where I'm doing the very same thing, having the same blind spots that I'm accusing someone else as doing. So that's what I'm saying. The work starts here, and I think it's imperative that we get to this. Because I think the greatest danger we have right now in this country, but also in the world, is polarization. Do you know what I mean? When I first moved to this country, it was 2003. Things were heating up for the election. And I remember thinking, already? See, in Canada where I'm from, we have 3-month elections. Done. But I noticed something that I hadn't seen before. And that was how polarized the two sides were. And again, in Canada, there are more than 2 main political parties. And don't get me wrong, there is plenty of conflict in Canadian politics. But that one side or the other thinking, the for us or against us kind of thought, it's not as evident as it is here. Because when there are 3 major parties, there has to be support, there has to be connection with them, they have to cooperate, they have to work together. But here with only 2, elections feel like a war zone to me. And that polarization shows up in many different arenas. So not only are we not listening to facts, but we're firmly entrenched in our viewpoint, thinking the other is completely wrong, and that is a recipe for violence. And it's all a consequence of the belief in separation. But there's good news. Are you ready for it? I think the post-truth era might just be the ticket for us to finally come together and discover our hearts, our commonalities, what connects us. Stop arguing facts and find what touches our hearts. Find what connects us together. We have to find a new way. And maybe this polarity can be the catalyst for the rising of the heart energy. And even though we may not agree on all sides of the issue, we can find some emotional connection and begin our conversation there. See? And that kind of practice is necessary if we're going to have any healing on this planet. If we're going to bring a sense of connection to this country, regardless of political beliefs, if the eagle and the condor are going to fly together. The only way to teach love is to be love. And it can be done, I'm convinced. But we're the ones to usher it in. Do you know that about yourself? I read the story about 2 groups of women who were on opposite sides of the abortion debate. And they came together with the idea in mind that they would see how they could work together and find some commonalities. And the first thing they got clear on was that neither one wanted any woman to be in the heartbreaking situation of having to make such a painful decision. They both agreed they wanted the abortion rate to decrease and that prevention was something they could all get behind. And so that became their starting point, and they worked together to help make birth control available in the area to young women who previously did not have access. They also provided education around reproductive issues. And they worked together, and they greatly improved the situation. But the story doesn't end there. In working together, they all became friends with each other. When they were finished with this project, they decided not to part ways because they had a heart connection. They loved each other as friends. Now, do you see the value of this? Yes. Together, they became a healing presence through the heart, even though they were on opposite sides of the debate. So, what healing needs in our world are calling you? Where do you want to bring a healing presence to this planet? What breaks your heart? For me, it's a child being hurt. Anytime I hear about a child being harmed in any way, my heart breaks. And you know, I saw that very clearly one day when I was reading an extremely dry, theoretical, fact-based book called The Business Plan for Peace by Dr. Scilla Elworthy. She's a British woman who's committed to bringing peace to the world. And in her book, she reports that the 2016 Global Peace Index calculated the economic impact of violence to the global economy in 2015 was $13.6 trillion. Somebody figured that out. And for 1 year, that's what 13 trillion looks like. And she's also broken down and estimated the costs of having preventative peace-building systems in place globally. Turns out it's 1.2 billion for 10 years. 13 trillion for 1 year, 1 billion for 10. It's a minor fraction of the cost of war. By the way, it's a brilliant book, but as I said, pretty dry. Statistics, descriptions of team accountabilities, you know, budget amounts. But as I was reading her business plan, she pointed out that had all these measures been in place in Syria early on in the conflict, all the violence, all the suffering could have been averted. And as I read that, what flashed in my mind was a horrific picture of a little guy. How many of you remember this picture? It went viral at the time. Little guy looked about 4 years old. His home had just been bombed. He was sitting there in shock. And as soon as I thought of that little boy, I'm not going to put it up on the screen, it was all over for me. I just completely collapsed in a pool of tears. I'm not talking a little dab at the eyes. I'm talking sobs here. It just took me there. It doesn't help that he looks a little bit like my little Liam. but regardless of that, all I had to do was read one sentence, and it sent me there because that's my heartbreak. A child being harmed. Charles Eisenstein writes that through the stresses and strains of life, we form protective emotional calluses on our hearts as a shield to feel safe. These calluses form a sort of armor to try to avoid the grief of compassion, fatigue, and overwhelm. But then something pierces the armor, and all of the grief that's hiding pours out. That's exactly what happened to me. The grief poured out. And the truth is that all of us have a tender heart, despite the calluses that might cover it. We need to find what will pierce that callus, what can touch us deeply, and having a child hurt in some way is what moves me to action. It brings out my mama bear. I just want to kick someone's ass. And then I get to my grandmother's heart that says it's probably not the wisest course. See what else we might do. But after I had my meltdown, I felt a clarity and a lightness that was not there before. At least I couldn't locate it. Suddenly the sun came out. I felt stronger, more peaceful, more able to deal with the heartbreak than I had before. Only when we're in that state can we do this work, you see? Only when we feel our feelings deeply and not run from them and not resist or avoid or push away. When the heart is broken open, the power of love streams out. And so I asked my heart, what is one action I could take that might help in some way, that might make a difference in a child's life who's been in such trauma? And I got prompted that I am now in the process of applying to volunteer with World Relief Spokane to mentor refugee, oh, there's our calloused heart right there. To mentor refugee children in Spokane with their homework and learning English. And that feels right to me. That feels right to me. It may not solve the greater problem, but it's one thing I can do to connect, to share my heart, to share my time with a child who has been through trauma. And that's some of the kids. And of course, there are many other areas that pierce the callus for me. The inhumanity of the prison system is one, and that is why the work I do with incarcerated people is so very dear to my heart. Or marine life dying from the plastics in the ocean. I'm now trying to be as plastic-free as possible. These are the things that touch me deeply and can move me into action. So what moves you into action? What pierces any emotional calluses you have protecting your heart? What personally affects you? Charles Eisenstein tells the story of visiting his wife's childhood neighborhood and having her break down when she witnessed the degradation of some wetlands that used to be her playground as a child. She had a heart connection with that beautiful spot, and to see it destroyed was devastating to her. It pierced the callus in her heart. And it is incumbent upon all of us to find where our heart is touched and pay attention to that. When we connect with others in a place that touches both of our hearts, it doesn't matter if we have different political views. When duality is erased, unity rises up, just naturally. And when we find a place of commonality that has emotional significance for us, that's where we join. You know, just after the election, Jimmy Fallon sent his reporter on the street out to find people who had opposite political views. Remember, this is right after the election. This happened. And then each couple had to find their commonality. And they ranged from both agreeing that hot dogs should only have ketchup on them, nothing else, to having the same favorite cartoon when they were kids, to being dog lovers. And as each pair found one thing that they both loved and agreed upon, they would start high-fiving each other and hugging and dancing and laughing together. Ketchup, yes, somebody said ketchup on hot dogs, they get it. Now, it appeared to be just a silly, frivolous thing they were doing on this show, but I saw something different. I saw wisdom. I saw people actually coming together as human beings rather than seeing someone as the evil other and finding out that they were connected instead of divided. The Franciscan priest Richard Rohr writes, "There's not a native Hindu, Buddhist, Jewish, Islamic, or Christian way of loving. There's not a Methodist, Lutheran, or Orthodox way of running a soup kitchen. There's not a gay or straight way of being faithful, nor an African American, Hispanic, or Caucasian way of hoping. See, the heart speaks a universal language. It's the language of love. Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, was a priest, a paleontologist, and a geologist. There's something very cool about that combination. I just love it. And he wrote that love is the very physical structure of the universe. That's a pretty radical statement for us scientists to make, wouldn't you agree? Radical or not, it's the truth. There is one infinite mind, and it dwells within every single one of us. It is divine love, unity, oneness. And when we let this infinite presence of love guide us without hindering it, we are shown the way to bring peace to our world. We are the vehicle through which that love is expressed, because that's what we are, love. Sometimes it's very hard to see. It can be deeply hidden. But everyone is love expressing, even the people on the other side who don't agree with me politically or have beliefs that I totally disagree with. So how do we bridge the divide? Buckminster Fuller said, I love him, you never change by fighting what's existing. To change, build a better model that makes the existing one obsolete. Wouldn't it be great if it was obsolete to have war? Well, that's our job. When something is ready to transform, then we are here to support it happening, midwifing what wants to emerge into manifestation. And I think love is seeking an outlet through every single one of us, and that's how we build a new model that makes the old one obsolete. And it is time. Wouldn't you agree? Yes. You know, when it was time for colonialism to end, Gandhi provided the leadership. When the time came for legal institutional racism to end, Martin Luther King showed up on the scene. When apartheid had reached its end, Nelson Mandela arrived. And I believe that the next transformation will not hinge on one individual, but with each other. A we space. We is smarter than me, you see. There's a saying that the next Buddha will be the Sangha, the community. We are the second coming. That's what that means. But we won't get there if we keep this giant chasm of division between us. So, what is your heartbreak? What is happening in this world that's breaking your heart? What moves you to heart-centered, compassionate action? Would you be willing to spend some time this week in asking yourself that question? Good, because we have more homework coming. So ask yourself, when you see what's happening to human society or the natural world, what breaks your heart? Ask. And then allow any emotion to come forth as you're considering that. Let it come. Let it come. Rise and fall. Did you know that emotion has a life cycle of 90 seconds? Unless we try to squash it, and then it's a lifetime. So let it come. And then center yourself in gratitude and ask your heart, what is one thing you can do to be a healing presence? Are you up for it? Yes. We're all here to be the one to make the difference in our world, in our families, in our communities, just in our own lives. And I have some good news for you. Are you ready? The eagle has landed. Yes.
All I can say is amen to that whole talk. Ugh. I really believe that unity, that one power, one presence, and one life is really love, what you've just talked about. So that's exactly what unity stands for. That talk could be the talk of unity. It stands for peace in the presence of conflict, for love in the presence of hatred, and for forgiveness in the presence of injury. Unity honors the many names for God, like love and the universe and life, many paths to God, for we know that there is only one power and one presence and one life. So whoever you are and wherever you are on your journey, you are welcome here. We would especially like to welcome those of you that are here for your first time. If you're willing and comfortable and would be willing to just raise your hand, we have a packet of information for you. Is anyone here for the first time? Wonderful, welcome. Super. Oh, great. Alan, to your right. Right there. Thank you, sir. Wonderful. Well, it's wonderful to have all of you. Outside on that packet, there's a form that you can fill out, and that'll add you to our mailing list, which it's a weekly e-newsletter, and it'll also give you the quarterly newsletter, which is wonderful as well. So if you're interested, just feel free to fill that out, and you can put it in the love offering bag as it comes by. Let's see. Yeah, so you can do that instead of giving a donation today. And also, after the service, you can take that packet to our barista here in our fellowship area, and you'll receive a free beverage of your choice. So enjoy that as well. And you can go to the bookstore and get a CD of today's talk if you'd like, which I highly recommend because that was definitely unity. Thank you, Jane. Yes, thank you. Yes. If any of you, including those that have been here for a long time, have any questions or want to find out new ways to get involved, just head to the information desk that's just just to the left outside the doors. And if you want to get a name tag for today, they're available there as well. So you can visit there and speak to one of our welcome team members. So we're glad you're here. All those that are brand new and all of those that are also joining us as family as well. So now is the time we get to welcome and greet each other. We can do this with a handshake, a high five, a wave, a namaste, whatever you're comfortable with, fist bump, we'll add that. We all start with our welcome song.
We're going to sing As I Am Turned On to You.
There we go.
There it is. All friends here, if you can stand, that would be great. We are all friends here. There are no strangers to walk inside that door. We welcome you to linger in our family of love, and hold you in our hearts the way you are. We are all friends here. There are no strangers once you walk inside that door. Welcome you to linger in our family of love, and hold you in our hearts the way you are.
Labas rytas. Labas rytas is Lithuanian for good morning. Sally and I have had the pleasure of spending the last 3 weeks in the Baltic countries. And, every time we travel, and we travel as much as we can, we come away and we come back with the truth of how important of what we're doing here in Unity is. Everybody in the world is looking for the same things, safety and love. And what we're doing today, what we've done for years in this community, is to foster those things and to transform lives. So we were very pleased to be back. Those people in those countries are right on the cusp of doing some great things. So I think we'll see them as partners in our transformation. So summer is on us, and I would be remiss if I didn't remind you that our expenses continue while you're gone on vacation. And that held true for Sally and I too. So please, this is a good time to think about doing something like an automatic giving through maybe your bank account or through some other means, so that while you're gone and having fun, we're still able to do the good things that we do around here. And so when you get back from your vacation, you'll be able to catch up on things that have gone on here. So I ask you to give some consideration to that and to continue to think about all the benefits that we get from being here and having Gary and Jane and our music team bless us with so much. So let's take that gratitude into our hearts as we join together in our prosperity blessing. Together, I know that my giving blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I give and receive. I give thanks for the abundance that is mine to share, and so it is.
I know that one thing that can mend your heart is listening to beautiful music. And we have a beautiful soloist, our lovely Mike Swain.
Oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the mountainside. The summer's gone and all the roses falling. 'Tis you must go and I must bide. But come ye back when summer's in the meadow, or when the valley's hushed and white with snow. For I'll be here in sunshine or in shadow. Oh, Danny boy, I love you so. But if ye come and all the flowers are dying, and I am dead as dead I well may be, you'll come and find the place where I am lying, and kneel and say an Ave there for me. And I will hear, though soft you tread above me, and all my grave will warmer, sweeter be, for you will bend
hand and tell me that you love me, and I will sleep in peace until you come to me. Oh, Danny boy, I love you so.
Thank you, Mike and Tawny. Well, we give thanks for these gifts and for those that have given them as we send them forth to bless our world. And as we are, thank you, sorry, you're excused. And as we're giving thanks for the gifts that we're receiving here at Unity Spiritual Center, we also like to take time to thank the different groups that serve our community. So if anybody's been a part of the landscape committee, either currently or in the past, would you please stand? We'd like to acknowledge you and thank you for your service. Thank you, and I want to acknowledge Frida Morgenstern and her leadership with that group as well. So she's not here today, but we want to acknowledge her and her service. So we're grateful for all of you. Our chaplains today are Diane Hunter and Kathy Fisher. Wonderful. Okay, super. And Al has been holding the congregation in presence and spirits through the whole service. So thank you, Al. And these two women here are available if you have anything heavy on your heart that you want to release or anything you want to celebrate. Maybe you have something heavy on your heart and you release it and then you celebrate. Please join these two. They'll be available after the service here up front. So thank you both for your service. Let's see, you can also fill in a prayer request form, and those are in the seat pocket in front of you. You can fill those out and you can put them in the box up there in the atrium, and those will be prayed over here through our prayer community, and then also passed on to the Unity Village, and they'll be praying for that 30 days as well. And that'll, Silent Unity, pardon me, and that will be prayed over for 30 days. And if you know someone that's in the hospital and has requested a visit from one of our chaplains, please fill out the visitation request form that you'll find also in the seat back. And then you can place that in the prayer box as well in the atrium. So I believe our children are present and have arrived. Can we hear them?
We are singing, for this love is our light. We are singing, for this love is our light. We are singing, for this love is our light. We are singing, for this love is our light. We are singing, oh, we are singing, for this love is our light. We are singing, oh, we are singing, for this love is our light. We are singing, for this joy is our light. We are singing, for this joy is our light. We are singing, for this joy is our light. We are singing, for this joy is our light. We are singing, oh, we are singing, for this joy is our light. We are singing, oh, we are singing, for this joy is our light. We are singing, for this love is our light. We are singing, for this love is our light. We are singing, for this love is our light. We are singing, for this love is our light. We are singing, oh, we are singing, for this love is our light.
What a beautiful parade of love. We are so grateful each one of you are here today. We love all of our young people, and we love all of our young people's caretakers and teachers that spend time with them. So we also love to bless each of you. So if you would join me in the blessing our children. Be the love you are. Sing the song you hear. Share your joy of life with people far and near. And now for ourselves. Be the love we are. Sing the song we hear. Share our joy of life with people far and near. All right, children, find who you came with, please. Wow, the next generation. Lisa, you're a saint. She has her own parade. All right, is everyone united? It looks like it. So if you're able, please stand and join together for our closing prayer, followed by the peace song. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God.
The love of God holds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And that's the truth.
Blessings to all the bodhisattvas, and so it is.